25 million UFOs, cloaked, circulating around the Earth, protecting us against what? I don't know. 25 million? I find that really, like, wow, what were they smoking? But if they were here to protect us, then why is Antarctica melting? Greenland, the North Pole, the South Pole? Why are we having the sea water, levels rise? Why are we starting to, face it, the big bottling companies like Coca-Cola and all the rest of them been coming into our state, for example, and buying water rights like like you wouldn't believe. Now, the only way I can think they're coming in and buying every water right they can get for fresh water is they know at one point there's going to be a shortage of it. And they're going to own, the rights of the water. So they can charge whatever they want to charge to, for you to have water. And if these aliens are here to protect us, well, why are we still having wars? Why are we having society with all these problems? All it would take for them to come down, like the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and scare the hell out of us and say, you can't run your governments the way you're running it. You can't sit there and treat your planet the way you're treating your planet. Otherwise, if you keep doing this, you're not going to be around in 40 years. I mean, wouldn't they come and tell us that? That's what I think.
They'd come and tell all of us it.
Yeah. I don't think they'd sit there and tell 3 or 4 people and say, hey, I that's what I mean. I think some people have been abducted, and then they get these weird screenshots basically dumped in their brain. So they don't even know what they're talking about, frankly.
Yeah, like a screen memory, or it's just their way of maybe making it a positive account, because they know that it was negative in the first place, and that's the only other way I could see it being, how we're talking about it.
Well, the thing is, why this abductions, it just didn't start yesterday. This has been going on. And we're hearing more about it now because people aren't as afraid to come forward like they used to. They used to be really scared to come forward and tell anybody, hey, I saw a UFO, or I think I was abducted. But now people are, they're not so worried about it now, and they're coming forward on this. But think about this. I mean, why would they keep abducting people? If they're just doing, medical experiments or getting information or implanting people, this has been going on for a long time. So there has to be some other type of motive here that we're just not realizing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Either there's so many different types of entities out there that you just keep coming here to do the same thing over and over. I mean, you do have other abduction accounts of people experiencing obviously different types of accounts, where maybe they'll have something different on their body when they wake up. But for all intents and purposes, it's basically the same thing over and over. Like you said, they're taking blood, they're putting babies, taking away babies, making hybrids, doing the same thing over and over. You're exactly right with it. And,
yeah, but I mean, how many times do they have to sit there and basically put their fingers down somebody's throat and try to come out their nose or come out of their ear, for example? I mean, Calvin Parker, when he was on the show, I asked him, I said, well, your experience, did you feel like your abduction is where they were gathering information, or did you feel it was evil? And his words out of his mouth, faster than you could count to 3, was evil. He got the impression it was evil. I've had other people on the show, the same thing what Terry's going to say, that when the craft took off, there was a whole bunch of humans on the craft. When it left, they weren't returned. What are they doing with those people? What's happening to these 40 to 50,000 people that vanish in our country every year that the law enforcement has no record of it? They don't even classify it as homicide or anything like that. It's just like these people have totally vanished. What's going on? What's going on in the park system? In the national park system, people are vanishing. The park police don't really investigate very much or keep much records of it. Why? Something is going on. And I feel very strongly to abduct people and to constantly keep abducting them and doing the same thing over and over, like even cattle mutilations. I mean, how many times are you going to sit there and remove the eyes, the udders, the sex glands, the heart, and drain them from blood for experimenting with? This has been going on for hundreds of years, or thousands of years. So it's some other reason what's going on.
I honestly believe, since they're doing it so many times, that they have to obviously be using this stuff they're taking from us for something important. It has to be for something important if they keep doing it over and over.
Well, they need it. Maybe they need it to survive. Maybe, who knows?
Exactly.
Again, we think we're intelligent creatures, right? I mean, we do. I mean, if you go talk to somebody, they think, the majority of the people think, well, we're the only ones out there. There's no other life equal to us. Well, I hate to burst their bubble. I think we're nothing more than an ant to maybe some of these humanoids that are visiting us. And they don't even look at us any more than when you get out of your bed in the morning and you walk out to your car and you walk over, insects. That's my feeling.
Exactly. We're no different to them than a cow is. Especially because of the mutilations on us as well. So.
Oh, yeah. Human mutilations, too. I mean, when you look at that, I mean, some of these mutilations with human are more even advanced than a cow mutilation, where they have actually taken the heart and all the stuff out from a couple puncture wounds on the side of their, cavity of their body and sucked it out. I mean, I don't know of any technology we can do that.
Yep. Holes the size of dimes.
Yeah. That tells me that a lot is going on, and I think we're being deprived of that information.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. There's definitely, especially if a lot of those human mutilation cases, you hear that a lot of them have the government attached to them. And if the government's attached to them, then something sinister is definitely going on, especially if they don't, want us to know about it or tell us about it.
Well, I don't think the government's involved with the mutilations. I can't see, the government going and, mutilating people's bulls and livestock when they could have all they want. I mean, look at the horses, for example, that they're putting, killing basically because there's no place for them in Nevada and a few other states. I mean, if they wanted to do experiments with cattle and stuff like that, they got horses. I don't see them going to people's farms and ranches and mutilating somebody's livestock. That doesn't make sense. So I kind of don't buy that the government has anything to do with it, because it's been going on too long.
Yeah, like what I meant is across in Europe back in the 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of human mutilation cases come up, and what they said was the government would basically, or they said NATO would meet them there to pick up the remains of the body, so no one would hear about what had happened after the aftermath, obviously. But I mean, I agree with you on the cows and everything about the government too.
Oh, yeah. And I don't trust the government at all. I don't. Because I think, like I said, they know what's going on. And they are, keeping it from us for various reasons. I still don't think society would take it very well if they came out tomorrow, Ryan, and said, yes, we're being visited. People are being abducted. We can't stop the abductions. We don't know if you or your family member or your next door neighbor could be abducted, 10 minutes from now. We have no control of it. How would the population take that?
I don't think they'd take it too well. I don't think it'd be War of the Worlds type take it, but I don't think they'd take it too well, especially if they finally took to the truth of what, and finally gave it a chance and listened to all these abduction stories after that happened. Then they really would start having a problem.
Well, a lot of people think, oh, our military, our law enforcement, it can protect us. And they do protect us on a lot of things, but I don't think they have any capabilities of protecting us of what is going on. If we're being visited by UFOs and coming into our airspace or any other country's airspace, we have no control to stop it. We have nothing to stop it. Evidently, we're powerless to do anything. Now, James, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. You know how I think. Anytime that something can take you against your will without asking you, don't know, kind of nefarious things to you that your imagination can run wild on, and then afterwards scrambling your brain or washing it so you don't have any memories, and not because they have empathy, but because they don't want you to remember and tell other people. And then on top of that, maybe putting false memories in your mind. It all leads up to PTSD. It's all negative. It's just hard to find any positive in that at all. And honestly, maybe we are the frogs that we dissected in school. Maybe they bring their students here to experiment. Maybe that's why it's been going on for years. We're just a big laboratory in their school.
Well, that is a possibility. It kind of reminds me.
That's really good.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of we're nothing more than a ranch. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe we taste good. Maybe we're a prize. Maybe we're a delicacy, like porpoises and some other things that that we eat or certain cultures eat that we are repulsed. But maybe where are these 50,000 people vanishing every year? I mean, that adds up. Figure how many in 10 years that is, and 15 years, and 20 years. That is a huge amount of people are being sucked off our planet.
And let me say this. We just don't dissect the frogs. We eat the frog legs, too, so think about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we eat everything virtually on this planet. If we can get it in our mouth and not die from it, we eat it, even including some poisonous fish that is not prepared right. It would kill you, and occasionally somebody dies from it. So we eat everything. We eat, anything from, humans. Well, we have, and there's still some places in this world yet that, will eat humans. There's one culture that will eat passed on humans because they feel that they take their spirits into them. Then you look at all the other things that people will put in their mouth and eat and think it's a delicacy. So if you're looking at put it this way, ETs so far advanced, we're nothing more than maybe a cockroach. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And look at the report that Mary Joyce reported about some of the beings have a delicacy of a couple of our glands. I think a pituitary gland maybe she was speaking of. And then if you look at some of the human mutilations, a lot of that kind of coincides with what she's saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the stuff is taken not just with humans, but with cattle. By the way, I'm going to end the feed here in about 8 minutes. You can go to www.nightdreamstalkradio.com and just click on the live. And when Terry comes on at 5 after the hour, you'll hear the show continuing on the internet. If you're in San Diego, you naturally just tune on your FM dial till you hear us. But, going back to this, the scary thing is, like Terry Lovelace is still terrified. Now, going back to 77, you're talking 40-some years, 43 years roughly, that since this has happened. And he's scared to go to bed at night without having a loaded gun next to his bed and a flashlight. He's not the only one. We've heard this from a lot of people saying that they are terrified because when they're in bed and they start to fall asleep, they have no control. Of course, I don't think you got any control anyway, because look at this. Look at Calvin Parker sitting fishing with his friend, and he got abducted. People being abducted out of their cars. It doesn't make any difference, folks, if you're sleeping or driving or, eating dinner. If they're going to abduct you, they're going to abduct you.
That's true.
Yeah, especially